Welcome to the fifth and final week of Breakthrough, where we're talking about the 4 stages of our spiritual life and the barriers that keep us from breaking through. Today we're talking about the spiritual stage of all about it. Now here's a recap from this past Sunday's message. Last week, we were asked to consider this question. 30 years from today, who will be following Jesus as a result of your investment? This week, Corey said that how you respond to that question will determine whether or not you move to the last stage of your spiritual journey, all about it. He said, if that question convicts you, then you're on your way. If you don't care about that question, then you'll stay stuck, because caring for the spiritual and physical well-being of others is at the heart of being like Jesus. Now we know that everyone's spiritual journey looks different, and God works with each one of us depending on what we need. As a result, though, it's impossible for a church to churn out a one-size-fits-all discipleship program. Instead, discipleship has to be done through relationship. Corey said, Jesus didn't set up programs, he discipled people in relationships. And so we ended up talking about 4 relational spaces that Jesus uses for discipleship, and we looked at how the church, our church, can be intentional about those same spaces as well. First, you have the public space. This is where Jesus preaches and teaches to the crowds. The public space is where there are around 100 or more people that are gathered around a common purpose. For us, the worship service is a public space, as well as live stream and social media. The public space is great for invitation and helping people to get a feel for a community. It's also great for teaching, for inspiration. And next, you have the social space. Now this is where people are gathered in groups of 20 to 75 people. And we often see Jesus at parties, spending time with people who had a reputation for sin, and bringing his disciples along with him. Now for us, the social space is where we gather in the commons after service, or at events like Chili Cook-Off and National Night Out, or Thursday nights at Freedom Works. The social space is great for identifying potential friendships, for serving together, for forming a group identity, and even for asking for small favors. Now the third is personal space. Personal space happens in groups of 5 to 12. We see Jesus here often when he's with his 12 disciples. For us, this is primarily experienced through our small group ministry, you guys. Now, the personal space is great at creating meaningful friendships, caring for one another, encouraging each other, and providing some accountability as well as deeper teaching. The fourth space is the transparent space. This happens when 2 or 3 people form a close bond and know each other deeply. We see Jesus here with Peter, James, and John, his inner circle. Now the church does this when we meet with someone at a similar spiritual stage, like an accountability partner, or in a discipling relationship where a more mature believer meets with and guides a less mature believer. Corey said that while this is the most important discipling relationship, it's also the one that's hardest to form and the one that's most neglected by the church, including ours. As a church then, we want to get better at these one-on-one, face-to-face relationships. Now let's take some time as a small group to discuss the past 5 weeks and what they've meant to each of you. Thanks for getting together. I hope you have a great small group meeting.